All right. September 9/25, 2022. Shabbat Shalom. Anthony out here. Lion Night Trust. Um, this is part two of my synopsis on the Mark of the Beast. Now we left off with the Inquisition. And I was telling you about the Sanbenito, um, which they call a dunce cap and the garment of flames, which was another marking of those who was either against the. In this era of time, they used this to display to the people who was against the Catholic canon law, who was still doing the pagan cultural aspects of what they have learned, and who have not given up the Catholic tradition. And at this time, yeah, Jews, Christians, and Muslims all mingled together. So it was hard for the Inquisition to figure out who was Catholic, who was baptized but not following the Catholic canon, who was Muslim, and it was just a mess. Okay, but this is a great read. Like I was saying before, between the pages of 60 and 100, you really get the gist of what is going on, especially during the time of Isabella and Ferdinand. Uh, if you know anything about the Waldensians, or today they call them the Waldensians, let's look that up. Waldensi, Waldensians, right here, Waldensians. Okay, now the Waldensians uh, came out of the Catholic Church when they were having their councils. And one of the big councils that they had was um, the Council of Toledo, which basically um, Francis of Assisi, um, who was a friar or a so-called monk. Well, let me not say monk. He was a friar who uh, thought it was best that the Catholic Church divest themselves of worldly wealth and live the life of poverty in walking out the walk of Christ. That's how he interpreted what the Catholic Church should be doing. And we see the same thing playing out with Saint Francis. I'm going to show you that here in a minute. But I just wanted to bring up some of the things that was going on with the Waldensians um, when they would they were slaughtering people, throwing them off into the Danube River, burning people at the stake, running these German tribes off, um, uh, running these people off out of Spain and Western Europe. Okay, and that's why it got so crowded um, with people pushing and moving across the continent that they started to expel them. They couldn't build prisons fast enough to hold these people because at that time the canon law was, um, you might serve a year in jail. If you didn't die, they didn't kill you. They would take your wealth, take your status, and that extended to you, your friends, and your children. I mean, they would literally rob you at best um, for your wealth that you had. So people was fleeing out of here, and that's why they came into what we call today the New World. Of course, there's more context and nuances there, but this is definitely a great book to get that context. Something else I want to show you, Catholic culture, so you can also have a definition, and this is the definition of what heresy was, because heresy at that time was a thing chosen and uh, a thing chosen and a thing being. Okay. Here it says, while remaining nominally a Christian, pertinaciously denies or doubts any of the truths that must be believed with divine and Catholic faith is considered a heretic. So, in other words, you was baptized, but you didn't follow what the Catholic Church doctrine was. Okay, so that's what that was. You baptized, but you was still doing the customs of a Muslim. You was baptized, but you didn't believe that Christ was God. You know, those are the different some of the different things that separated peoples into sects and denominations. Okay, those was some of the great controversies. Whether we should keep the Sabbath or we shouldn't keep the Sabbath. Whether the Sunday is the holy day or Saturday is the holy day, and that is the all the other things have been today have already been settled. Whether Christ was divine, they have the church has already settled those things. Even though we see the truth coming out, the church in their realm has already settled those things for the most part. And we'll see that later when I bring up uh, Tony Palmer when the Protestants back in 2017 declared that the protest is over, because that was the protest when they was removing them from out of Spain. There was a protest. Um, Back to Pope Francis and Francis of Assisi. Um, Pope Francis and Saint Francis. Okay, I'm bringing this up for your knowledge, for your, you can read it for yourself. Um, but Pope Francis explains why he chooses Saint Francis as his role model and guidance of for this time. But you have to not be deceived by this. They're not giving up their wealth. They're not their wealth at all. In fact, just recently, Pope Francis signed his encyclical to bring all the wealth into the head Vatican church. Okay, so here's an article. You can read this article. So on the Catholic Telegraph, and he goes down the reasons why he goes Saint Francis as his model. Okay, see, and this is one of the things that stood out to me. It says that the church does not have a political nature, but a spiritual one. That is false. The church has both a political and a spiritual nature. Okay, even though that they're running on the spiritual one in this time and age. That's what they're running on, because we have a conflict that is coming up, and it's coming up real fast. All right, so Francis, what's next? Um, oh, this is also I want to bring up. I haven't been able to find the treaty, but this is one of the things. EOUS. This is one of the things that uh, Pope Francis, not Pope Francis. This is one of the things that, how do I say it? One of the bishops, right, um, wrote some treaties or some pacts. Okay, a treaty is a pact, is an agreement that against the Judeans. Okay, why they are against Judaizing Christianity, meaning not keeping the Sabbath day, not keeping the feast days, not following the fourth commandment and the 10th commandment, and the third commandment, keeping the name of the Most High holy. Okay, not Judaizing. And he wrote a big treaty on that subject and topic. Basically, he was denigrating anybody who kept the feast days who were a Jew by culture. Okay, and also who was a Muslim by culture as well, because Jews and Muslims kept the Sabbath day at this time. You have to remember that. So the Council of Toledo, let me bring that up. Council of Toledo, which was another treaty, another pact that they was delving out, uh, uh, just all kind of degrading things to combat the customs and the culture of the Jews. Okay, that's what that was all about, combating the customs and culture of the Jews. Now, let's fast forward a little bit to the Holocaust. Okay, I'm bringing this up because I want to speed it up. It seems like, um, yeah, we're already 10 minutes in, so I want to bring this up. Um, if you go to Edwin Black, right? This is the guy that wrote the book on IBM and the Holocaust. It's worth watching the video. Let me see if I can find a video of him explaining how IBM, right? IBM is a computer, international business machines, for those who are not old enough to know. This is a good video where he explains exactly how they came up with a way to round up the Jews and those who, profess, those who were keeping Sabbath day customs. Okay, that was a good way. But there's a better video. There's a better. This is a good video, but there's a better video on uh, Internet Archives. Go to Internet Archives. Excuse me. I'm gonna sneeze in a second. Whew. We go to Internet Archives. I'm sorry about the wrong page. But if you go to Internet Archives, right, when you get here, go to their website. Go to their website. Now you can log in here. You can log in here. The account is free, and you can also get that book that I recommend for those few pages. But go down here to the search bar and type in Edwin Black. Okay, and in the search bar, let's see where we at. All right, got find it. Okay, then I'll pause and give you another break. Um, Black. What I'm doing here is I'm bringing up the video because I want you to see, for your own self on your own time when you want. The video here. Here's part two. Here's part one. These two videos right here. Um, these two videos right here, part one and part two. They short, but he goes concisely through the material that he has on IBM. Now, he points out, let me get out of here. He points out the four things that IBM was able to do. It's actually six things that IBM was able to do to be able to find who was a Jew, where they're at, their occupation, and just information, all of them. Okay. He says names and lists, a census to verify, confiscation of their wealth or defranchising them. Okay, this is another removing them. Excuse me, removing them from their status, rounding them up, concentration camps, and putting them in ghettos, deportation, and then slaughter. Okay, and what was used, what they used, was called the Hollerith card or holograph machine, okay? Excuse me. Was the holograph machine, okay? That's what they used to compile all this data and information. Okay, now today we have it in the palm of our hands. We just freely give the data. Okay, this was the machine that they used, and they had punch cards. Okay, you know, prior to back in the 90s, you had to punch in when you went to work. Some people may remember that, but that's how you did it. Is a picture of the punch card. How they came up with the compiled the list of who was who. Okay. Um, who else I want to go with that? Uh, oh, we have a reference here for this exact situation. We'll find that in Second Samuel. Second Samuel. Let me move myself and put me over here. Second Samuel. What is it? 24. Second Samuel 24, and it's actually verses 1 through 7, but let's just go to the chapter anyway. Okay, so in this context, the Most High stirs up, give us senses of the people of Israel. Okay, and it says, I'm gonna start at 7. So when they had gone through all the land, they came to Jerusalem at the end of 9 months, 20 days. It took them a year. Now, IBM had a problem. Hitler had a problem with number of people. So they used the Halifax machine to do just that. Excuse me. What did Joab come up with? He came up with the numbers. And Joab gave up the sum of the number of the people unto the king. And there were in Israel 800,000 valiant men that drew the sword, and the men of Judah were 500,000 men. Okay? So he basically had a 800,000 army with 500 reservists. Okay? Not including women and children. But this gave the king an idea of what the enemy would need to go to battle against Judah. So imagine if you were an enemy and you had this kind of information. You knew that it was 800,000 men. So you would get 1.5 million men so that you can go against the men of Israel. Okay, this is what they learned. This is what they learned from taking the census. Not only that, how much tax need to be done, how much food need to be stored up to feed the army, um, clothing, shelter, everything can be determined by having this one number of how many men was there. Okay. Well, now we don't know how many valiant men were married or not married because that also brings the numbers down. But you get the picture of what I'm trying to say. Let's see. I'm gonna bring you over here. Bring me over here. Sorry for moving around, but I want to search something up for you, and then we'll take a break and we'll come back. Yeah, we'll come back to this. PBS, Vatican, and Nazi. Okay, we're gonna leave off on that PBS, Vatican, and Nazi, and then I'm gonna show you something how the Vatican has not changed a doctrine or how it operates in the same context. All right, so let's take a break. I'll see you on the next video. All right, John.